Bye. My name is Josh Miller. I own Riverstone Kennels, and I've been training gun dogs for more than 16 years. I have field trialed, I've hunt tested, but at the end of the day, I'm a duck hunter. You might find that the duck in our DUK Dogs podcast is spelled uniquely. The UK stands for my British Labs. I love my British Labs. I love what they offer me, both as a part of my family and the high motor in the field. As you're going to find, I have some pretty special dogs. Follow along in our podcast series here as we talk about both in the field hunting and in the field training situations that will hopefully help you progress with your dog at home. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of DUK Dogs. I'm your host, Josh Miller, and let me break down for you the great partners that make this show possible. Thank you to Eukanuba Premium Performance Sport 3020 is the blended food that I have my dogs on, from performance in the field to coat to energy level to recovery time, just across the board. It is an absolutely fantastic formula to have my dogs on, especially as we head into the hunting season. So www.eukanuba.com. Thank you to Gun Dog Supply. Gun Dog Supply is your one-stop shop for all of your hunting and training needs. And as we head into season, be sure to get your gear early, because you don't want stuff to run out. We had last year, 2 years ago, we had a stock issue just across the board of inventory. So make sure you get to Gun Dog Supply right away. And then it also gives you an opportunity to train with that gear before getting into the field. www.gundogsupply.com. Also, thank you to Lucky Duck. Lucky Duck is your 5-star crash test-rated kennel, both in the intermediate and in the large size. So no matter how big or small your gun dog is, you can be sure that they are riding as safe as they possibly can. www.luckyduck.com. Also, thank you to Sitka Gear. Sitka Gear is your premium option for your outdoor clothing, and be sure to stock up heading into season. I promise you guys, it will keep you in the field more comfortable for longer. We all wish we had more time in the field, and Sitka is that premium option to make sure that you stay in the field and capture every moment possible out there. www.sitkagear.com. Also, thank you to Kent Cartridge. Kent is the shotgun shell of choice for us. We have loved shooting these shells, and we're transitioning now from our blanks to our hunting loads. And so, again, be sure to stock up, www.kentcartridge.com. As we head into waterfowl season, I would highly suggest looking at the bismuth. I love the Kent bismuth. And last but not least, thank you to Retriever Roadmap. Retriever Roadmap is your go-to online option in order to train your dog at home. So video library, step-by-step guidance. It's a great program. We love the community aspect of it. We're going to talk a little bit about that here today. But if you are a DUK Dogs listener, you get $100 off your purchase on that. So do DD for DUK Dogs, DD100 will get you $100 off at www.retrieverroadmap.com. All right, everybody. Well, I hope you are off to a fantastic, boy, it's going to be a long one if it's going to be like that. A fantastic August. Why is that such a hard thing for me to say? Brett is here with me. Brett, how are you doing?
I am doing fantastic.
So Brett is up here for Game Fair. He's working the Retriever Roadmap booth. And if you guys don't know Mr. Brett Ayers, he's been around the industry for a long time. He's been on the show a couple times. But in case you're jumping in here, Brett, give a little bit of a background on kind of your time in the industry and what you do now.
So I got started in the waterfowl industry in the late 90s, blowing a goose call. And I was fortunate enough to travel around to many different contests, met a lot of people, gained a lot of friends, and just kind of through that has transitioned. I've always stayed in contact with those folks and gained a lot of good friendships, and it's put me where I'm at now, which is I started doing photography years ago. I'm a product designer by trade, but I started doing photography, videography years ago, and that's what brought Josh and I together. Actually, before that, that is what brought us together. I got a puppy from him, did some content work for him through that puppy, and when he was looking to do Retriever Roadmap, him and I had a conversation, and so here I sit. So I did most of the video work for Retriever Roadmap, did the editing, built the website, and the community manager. So when you get into that program, you will see me a lot. You'll communicate with me a lot, and it's been a fun ride.
Yeah, well, Brent is the only full-time Retriever Roadmap team member that we have, so he's a big aspect of what we do, and many of you know, some of you may not, that I think I went through 3 different videographers before getting with Brett, just trying to find the right person. And our friend Lewis, who is now a part of Retriever Roadmap from overseas and has a bunch of content that he is integrating now into the program, which is fantastic. Just more ways and more thoughts and more approaches to help you be successful with your dog. He is going through that right now. He sent me a message, I think it was yesterday. He's like, man, I would have never guessed the hurdles of videotaping this stuff. Like, he thought it was just set the camera up, have a videographer, press record, and you go. And he's like, when I finally have, the right situation with the dog, then all of a sudden the weather doesn't cooperate. Then the weather cooperates and there's airplanes flying or someone, doing something in the background. It's just like, it's always, and then we felt the exact same way. But the biggest hurdle I had was finding a videographer that could understand the dog aspect of it. Because normally, photographers, videographers, they're, I would say less and less, and you can agree or disagree with me. I feel like less and less is in the moment. Like it's a lot more of capture something and edit.
Reshoot it.
Right?
Yep.
Or reshoot, right? And so that's the problem that I had with the video side of things. It was like, all right, so we have this dog. We want to show this teaching moment, and this dog would go through like a great session. When I say great session, it doesn't look pretty, but it's an actual live training session. And I get done with it, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was awesome. And then the videographer's like, that's great. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to move here, put this different lens on, and let's shoot that again. I'm like, you don't get a second shot at this, man. Like, this was it. So, yeah, it was great that our paths crossed the way that they did, and we were able to do that. So Game Fair, give us kind of a quick breakdown of Game Fair, kind of what was the show like, and what did you think?
Yeah, I think throughout the years here, shows of, just because of box stores and other things that are going up, back I'm going to age myself here, but when I was a kid, going to shows was awesome. You got to meet people, you got to meet the pros, you got to see the new product, you got to do all that fun stuff, which Game Fair is the same way. I thought the crowd was still decent. It was a nice crowd, lots of dogs running around. For people that don't know, they have a lot of dog games there. I know they have a scurry, a lot of timed events. So it's cool to see the different dogs. It's cool to see some of the dogs through Retriever Roadmap members. The biggest thing, for me, I came up a little early, is the trailer. Josh, I don't know, you followed along last year. Josh had bought a decoy trailer, decked it out on the inside, just organization-wise of how he, puts the dog kennels are in there, all his full bodies, all the spinners, everything, that we use hunting, traveling throughout the season is in that trailer. So our goal last year was to get it wrapped, and it just didn't happen. Timing-wise, it didn't happen. So it got put on the back burner, and this past summer we made the transition to get that thing wrapped, and it turned out super sharp. So anybody that's going to be coming to Game Fair, stop by. For one, we can talk Retriever Roadmap. For two, you can see inside the trailer and how the organization is. And for three, you can see the bad beep wrap that's done on that trailer.
Did you beep and then say the word anyway?
I did, yes. Pardon my French.
It did turn out great. It turned out awesome. Those shows, we do a fair amount of them. Probably, is it bad to say that more than I would like?
I think once you do them, everybody's got a different perspective. But yeah, once you do them so much, and it's kind of becomes repetitive, I guess. So,
Well, and here's why this one is a tough one. So we are in the busiest month of our year with training because it's August. Yeah, up here in the Midwest, season starts September 1, whether that's doves or early honkers or what have you. And so naturally there's an urgency there. But then game fair is 8 days out of our month because you set up on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the next Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you come back on Monday to pick up. So it's 8 days. And then we go to Wisconsin Waterfowl Expo, which is in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. That's going to be the weekend after. And so I guess maybe that's unfair to say because I do really like the shows. I love seeing the people. Seminars are my absolute favorite thing to do. I love connecting with people and love sharing, my experiences and some different thoughts. Love answering questions. I really do love that side of it. I just wish it was a different month. That's the only thing that kind of gets to us on this one. But but I thought overall Game Fair, it was good. It kind of boggles my mind a little bit that this is a show that is in the same place with basically the same vendors and the same stuff every year, and every year people turn out for it. I mean, it's pretty incredible. You take like a Pheasant Fest or a Delta Waterfowl Expo, or like that travels, right? So you get new people, new crowd. Like I get why that would draw, but this one, Great American, again, same place, tremendous crowd. Just super interesting to me how successful those shows can be as far as attendance goes.
Yeah. I've always loved going to shows. I know you and I have had this conversation. I did a lot of shows for Sitka. I did a lot of shows for Avery Outdoors back in the day. And, I love going to shows and talking to people and sharing stories and, just being around people, like-minded people. So, Game Fair is the same thing, just tons of dog people. So, I really enjoy the show.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk training. Okay. So this time of year, we transition a lot to preseason prep. So we're halfway through August. We have, call it 2 weeks ish until season starts. And we've been doing this for about a week, but we transitioned to our preseason prep, which our preseason prep is what I would probably encourage anyone, like maybe my guys in the South that you're waiting on duck season, you have until Thanksgiving. Okay, August is premature for that. But if you are in the North and your season is around the corner, like for us, I'm going to pull up my handy dandy calendar here so I can tell you exactly how many days. But we have literally in 2 weeks, we will be rolling into Kansas for dove opener and be hunting the next day. So we have essentially 2 weeks to get ready for season. So for us, we're transitioning to what's everything that my dogs, especially my young dogs, but even my older dogs, I never like to take anything for granted. What are they going to see in the field that I can prepare them for? What can I control? Okay, so we're putting decoys out, we're putting spinners out, we're shooting the guns if we haven't been already. If there's a place board, if there's blinds that we're going to be using, we're getting them into those, acclimated to those, understanding that this is work time, this is a tool that we're going to be using. We're getting feathers if possible, right? Feathers now, of course, we can't be like using doves. We're not using doves, but we might be using pigeons, right? So there's always something that to prepare for. Again, controlling what we can control. And so that's something I would really encourage you guys, if you guys are in this with your dogs, especially those young dogs, years 1, 2, or 3, do this. Don't take that for granted. Make sure you're doing everything you can to prepare, because once you hit that field, everything's uncontrolled. So while it's controlled, try to capitalize on it. And Brett, I kind of want to kick it over to you, because you got to attend the Western Wisconsin Retriever Roadmap Strike Team. And before I kick it over to you, I just want everyone to know, like, this has been my absolute favorite part of this program, and it was the last thing that we implemented. And what has been so cool about it, so we actually held this one at my kennel. We kind of bounce around. We like to have different properties, different looks, different setups. But we had this one at my kennel, utilizing the tech pond. And I don't know how many people. It looked like there were 100 people there because of how many vehicles were there. I don't know how many people were there, but I'd say at least 40,
somewhere in there, yeah.
So. And just the learning that goes on by watching other dogs, the learning that your dog has by being in these new situations, by being able to use equipment that you normally don't use. Maybe it's a situation like a pond that maybe you don't have access to, being able to honor another dog, being able to talk to like-minded people and get different ideas. And then the camaraderie piece. I mean, we have people that are gonna, they're becoming hunting partners and training partners and all stuff. It's really a fun thing to see. And we have these all over the country. Of course, the one that's local to me is the one I'm the most active in. But Brett, you have not been around one of these yet, I don't think. Mm-mm. And so kind of give us your perspective of what you saw that night.
Yeah. So, from Strike Force, that was our 2-day event where everybody came in. We had people from like 13 states and 3 countries, I guess, including the U.S. But that was incredible to see, all these people come together, all the different dogs, all the different, stages that the dogs are in, and to work a younger dog and then work advanced dogs. And so coming here, this is the first time I've attended one of the strike teams. And like Josh had mentioned, the crowd, for one, the people that came was tremendous. And obviously these people I think this was their 8th or 9th get together. So a lot of these people, like Josh had mentioned, have already become friends. They're talking, they know where their dogs are at, et cetera, et cetera. So, and, there was any dog there from, like, our friend Kyle he's got a little strike puppy. He brought her out for socialization afterwards, after all the training was done, but just to get around a bunch of people,
because she's like what, like 10 weeks,
12 weeks,
okay,
I think, somewhere in there, just a little, and her name's Pipsqueak.
Pip.
Yeah, Pip. So, cute little dog, but, having her out there, and then, there's some kids that were out there. So the kids were playing with the puppy, just great for a puppy socializing. We had a couple new members that just had signed up at Game Fair that came out, that were having some trouble with their dog. One dog had never had a retrieve before. And I know the dog was in for obedience, but had never had a retrieve before. And just to see the owners, how ecstatic they were and how excited they were to watch their dog just let that natural instinct come out, was fantastic. But, we set up a pretty tough setup for the advanced dogs. There was some cheating. There were some birds. Rich had brought some birds. And then we did some blind work back in the backfield, so people were able to rotate. And then you could, if your dog was at a certain stage, then we had some simpler marks, for a younger dog, or if, we could run a single, or if your dog has done doubles, you could do doubles. And again, you could do a single duck if you wanted to as well. So just having all these people come together and the ability to train and to I guess manipulate the setup how you would like it to where your dog is at is a huge benefit. And Eric does a fantastic job of helping, folks that have, maybe the dog's struggling a little bit, just give them a little bit of guidance. So, and the biggest thing to me, and this is Retriever Roadmap in a whole, but is positive. Everything is positive. You're not going to get negativity out of anybody in any of these groups. Everybody is here cheering each other on, helping each other. And I mean, that's a huge benefit. You don't have somebody saying, well, that dog's not what that dog should, what they think they are, blah, 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 blah. You don't have that. So, it was a great experience. I got to run timber there at the very end. And it was a lot of fun. And I know this is the first time since early spring, I think, that you guys had some water. So it was nice to get some water work in. Again, there was also some land stuff. So, Josh has a tech pond here at the kennel. So it's got fingers on it. So we were able to throw some cheaters for some of the advanced dogs and some of the younger dogs just to challenge them. And everybody did fantastic.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. And one of the things that I love about it, too, is watching. So when we set up, probably the most difficult thing is how do you set up a setup for such a wide variety of dogs because we have very advanced dogs all the way down to, like you said, first ever retrieve. And as you can imagine, that gets challenging. So we have to set things up in a way that we could run, maybe if we run a double, we could run it as 2 singles, but you have them be successful, right? And so I love how willing everyone is to be challenged. Like the cheating side of things, excuse me, is I think probably as frustrating, but yet as fun for most of the people there because you don't have a pond like this, to work on. So, okay, here's the issue. We identify it. Let's work through it. And we work through it. And it might take 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And then all of a sudden you get the success. And then you can, come back and reapply it. And it's a fun thing to watch the progression that can happen in just a training session like that. But it also kind of leads me to kind of the main topic that I want to talk about today, which I'm going to call this performances. Okay, and I have kind of a little bit of a soapbox. I'm going to go on a little bit about this, but I think this is really valuable for us to sit back and appreciate with our dogs. Okay, so I see this at kennel drop-offs, so dogs that come out to the kennel. I see these at training days like the strike teams. Maybe not as much that group. I would say that group has actually been really good about this, but just training days that I've been to in general. Hunt tests are certainly another one of these. A show like Game Fair. So where am I going with this? So I think there's certain times, like all the times I just mentioned, that we expect a performance out of our dog, right? I mean, hunts are another one. I didn't have that on the list, but how about just hunts? Like when you go out, you've been training with your dog all summer, and you go out on that first hunt. If your dog doesn't perform, especially if you've got 2 or 3 buddies sitting there looking at you, you are gonna be frustrated. Agree? I mean, it's just what happens, right? You expect a performance. You go to a test, you expect a performance. You go to a training day, you expect a performance. For me in particular, I have a client that comes after not seeing their dog for 3 months. They expect a performance. And we're seeing this more and more on like even videos. Like videos are absolutely driving me insane because I love doing videos for our long distance clients. It lets them know the dog is happy and healthy. It lets them know what we're doing. It's a way that I can try to coach, right? But I also do videos in a non-performance way. I'm not going to set this thing up and make it look as pretty as possible and have it be robotic, right? To make you feel good about it. I'm going to show you a live actual training session. So it's not going to be beautiful. It's not going to be pretty more than likely, right? We're going to work through this thing. And some of the stuff that like someone will comment something back, right? Like, oh, well, this was wrong or that could have been better. Well, no kidding. Like this is training. Right? Like this is not the roll out the red carpet and we're going to go win an Oscar, right? This is training. And I guess where I get frustrated, as you can probably tell, I'm a little passionate about this right now, is it should not be the expectation. And I can tell you the pickup days for us at the kennel are the most stressful days that there are of the year because not every dog is going to have or go put on a performance. Right? So I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you the story about a little dog named Creek. So Creek is owned by very good friends of mine. We hunt with them a lot, and this is their second dog from me, and their older dog is a really nice dog. But Creek is a special dog. Like this dog has it. There are very few dogs that go through the kennel and training that I'm like, gosh, I wish I owned this dog. I love all of them. But I also love when they go home because they're with loving families, great people. Like I love that side of it, right? But like I did not want her to go. I really adored her. And this little dog was, at 13 months old, was running cold blinds as hard as she could possibly go. Like flames coming out of her feet fast. I blow a whistle. Her butt is on the ground right now. Takes cast beautifully. Like you could not, like this dog is awesome. And this dog went through the entire summer with me. So she was with me for about 3.5, maybe 4 months. This dog never had a roadblock. Like push, 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 and she would just push through it. I mean, she was so good. Never had a major hang up, never had a major roadblock, just kind of progressed through everything beautifully. This dog was so ahead of the game that I kept telling them, I was like, I sent them an update, and they came about halfway through and saw her in person, of course, ecstatic with her progressions. And I told them, I was like, guys, just like, I'm nervous about when we hit that roadblock, because like a dog that never handles and never has to face any adversity, when all of a sudden they do have to face it, sometimes they don't know how to handle it. And so I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I'm just waiting for it. Well, it never happened. Like she just kept clipping along, went through everything great. 4 months of this, okay? Of course, because I'm telling her owners how great she is, how fantastic she is. She does everything great. She does everything perfect. I send videos, right? Everything, the whole thing. Well, they're coming on a Monday, Tuesday. They're going to spend 2 days with me, Monday, Tuesday, to pick her up. That Thursday before, I cannot tell you what happened, but this dog completely like cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, like completely like brain is gone. I mean, here's a dog that's doing everything so well. I send her on a simple blind back. She acts like I'm speaking Spanish. I throw her marks. She acts like she has no idea what's going on. Like I have no idea what happened, but she just completely shut down on me. 4 days before going home. So I come back on Friday, same thing. Like I'm just like, you can probably imagine the stress level that I have, right? Like, oh my gosh, right? So I worked through the weekend. I ironed her back out, and she was great. At pickup, she was great. She looked like everything I said she was. But what if they would have came on Thursday? Right? What if they would have came on Friday? Like, this is where, to me, I've said this a couple times, I think, on this show even, but I really believe this. I feel like we humanize our dogs. I think we can all say we're guilty of that. We humanize our dogs until it is no longer convenient for us to humanize them. So what I mean by that in a situation like this, okay, so if you had a all-star basketball player, that like in the Creek's case, I'm just going to use Creek. Creek is a freshman, right? So she's a freshman because she's young, right? But she's playing with the big boys. So freshman basketball player, just an absolute stud, high scorer, does everything like, oh my gosh, this is going to be the next all-star, right? And you go to a game and just can't hit a shot, all over the place, turnovers, whatever it is. Most of us will go, oh gosh, like, kid's young, he's got some learning to do, right? Just an off night, no big deal. But if that's our dog, most of us are like, what in the world was that? And get frustrated with the dog. That's where it's no longer convenient for us to humanize them. There are so many variables. There's so like the biggest thing that we have as a hurdle with our dogs that they can't talk to us. Thank goodness, because they wouldn't have a job if they could, but they can't talk to us. And I'll tell you, like, they can internalize a lot of things. We have dogs that have been hurt. I mean, really hurt. And they hide it, right? They're not feeling good. They still wag, and they still like, the head's still up, even though they're kind of working through it. Like, it's very difficult, especially if you're not doing this all the time. It's very difficult to read the dogs all the time. And I mean, here's me. I do this for a living. I cannot tell you what happened with Creek. Can't tell you. Have no idea. Wasn't coming into season. Wasn't doing anything. Like, don't know. And a couple days later, she's totally fine. But this performance thing, I think, is something that if we just understand it, it's an easier pill to swallow. Okay, so for example, we're going to the hunt test that we ran, the one that we talked about with Eric and Brian, if you guys remember that episode a few episodes back. We did that on DUK Dogs, didn't we? So we go to the test, and on the way to the test, Eric called me because he's driving from different spots. So he just wanted to kind of talk on the drive, and he knows I'm really high on Tucker. I mean, Tucker's the real deal. I mean, he is a fun dog to watch. He's got everything I could ask for. And since he's out of the same line as Brock, he is like I'm training Brock again, which is making this even more fun for me. There's a lot of reasons I love him, but I know he is something special. And so when we were going to that first day of the test, Eric had asked me when we were on the phone, he's like, so what if Tucker fails today? And I'm like, so what? Like, I really don't care if he fails. And the reason I don't care that he fails is because I know we're going into a performance that something goes wrong. He's not going to get a pass. He did, right? But if he didn't, then that doesn't make me think any less of him. I know what I have. And the reason I know what I have is because I put in the work. Like, I put in the work. I know what I have. Yes, the test is great for validating that. And it's great to go and maybe show me some holes I might need to continue to work on. But I mean, I did. I used to go into tests being like, gosh, like I hope my dogs are as good as I think they are. And then if they didn't pass, I'd be upset about it. Well, it's not that way for me anymore. Like, these performances to me are just that. They're performance. We go out, we either win or we lose, and we come back and we keep working, right? And this, again, is just one of those things I would just encourage you guys to know that, especially going into hunting season, because you're likely going to have a performance at some point along the line that isn't what you were thinking it's going to be. And when that happens, I would encourage you to not get frustrated, not pull your hair out, just take it for what it is, regroup, and go after the next performance. That's all you can do. It doesn't mean your dog is any less of a dog. It doesn't mean that all your training was a waste of time. It doesn't mean any of that. Creek is a prime example. Dog is an absolute bad beep. I mean, I'm serious, you guys. Like, she is a bad dog as far as, like, and when I say bad dog, I mean really freaking good. I mean, if you would have seen her on that Thursday, Friday, you wouldn't have thought she knew her name. Can't tell you why, but that's the performance. But it's an interesting. I think it's an interesting topic.
Yeah, I think it's really, and for somebody that's not around the kennel, every day and seeing this every day, and then having conversations with you, seeing the different dogs work, you have a tough job. I mean, you really do. You have people that buy a dog that they think is going to be the next greatest thing ever, right? And then you invest in sending your dog to somebody like yourself, thinking that you're going to put them in that driver's seat, in that driver's seat to make them that next best thing. But the reality of it is that puppy or that dog is just like a human. You take somebody that's really good at math and they excel at math. You take somebody that's really good, that's not so great at math, then, they may struggle. It takes them a little bit longer to get to the top peak. So, and you see the same thing in dogs. You see dogs that, like you've said in the past, and they mature slower. I had a slow maturing dog, and it took a little longer. But you keep working. But the thing is people think that right away you're going to be boom right on top just because you're paying for this. And trust me, the work's put in, the work is there. Just sometimes that process is just a little slower from dog to dog. So Creek is a bad to the bone dog, but maybe Creek's litter mate is going to be just a little slower than that. So it's somewhat of an unfair. It's somewhat of an unfair situation for you, just because everybody thinks, boom, here I'm going to give it to Josh, and then I'm going to have a Brock, and not many Brocks come along.
If there were, I mean, I'd have 10 of them,
right? And you go back to expectations. I was going to mention this earlier as you started, talking through here, like. Josh has an expectation, and I promise you, Josh's expectations, when you put your expectations to the sky, Josh's are probably 10 steps higher. So when he says, this dog is it, this is, da 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 da, that's because Josh's steps are 10 steps higher. When you come back down to that normal level, then most people are going to be super, super happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's, well, one of the things, so I love how you talked about the time, like, cause you didn't say that second kid would never be good at math.
Right.
You said it would take longer to get there.
Yep.
And some of that could be, what is their home life like for the teacher?
Yep.
Right. What situation do they have? Do they have support and help at home? Do they not? Are they eating right? Are they not? Are they being, are they, living in a nice house or not? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of factors to it. And again, humanizing until it's not convenient to humanize anymore. I had to have a conversation with a guy earlier this week that the dog was having some issues with getting defensive around people, right? And it's okay, like, I've never had a dog like this. And he kept saying, I can teach it to hunt, but I can't teach this. I'm like, okay, well, let's dig into this a little bit. And like, was just beside himself. I was like, okay, well, what led to this? Well, this is just how she is. I'm like, okay, but so I started asking questions in a different way, right? Well, yeah, there was like, there used to be a thing that like, the kids, used to do this thing where they'd like sneak up and scare as a puppy. Like, okay. And then all of a sudden, she thought that people were going to jump out and scare her all the time. Well, no kidding.
No kidding.
Right?
Yep.
So now you fast forward to a 1.5-year-old dog. Like, this is not a bippity boppity boom fix. Right? And so it's going to take time. Right? I can't, to be honest with you, can't remember where I was going with that. Maybe I was just trying to vent there. But
let me kick in here just to help. So let's take a dog that you've put through obedience, and you've sent this dog off to Josh or any kennel for obedience, and you say sit, the dog sits, you take it home, your kids are home for the summer, and all of a sudden you start noticing you say sit, and your dog's not complying. Well, what's probably happening in there is your kids have probably said sit, 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 and that dog doesn't sit. So now when you say sit, that dog has he's not for sure what's going on. So things that I've seen it with my dogs too, because I've got house dogs. My dogs are totally spoiled, and I do a lot of there's regression. You make progress and then you go backwards because things happen that I don't see. That's outside of my control, so to speak. And it's the same thing here. So then you get somebody's like, well, it's not doing this anymore and blah, 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 blah. Well, there's probably a reasoning for that. And I'm just using the family as an example because most dogs are house dogs. And, that's just an example of, hey, your kids aren't making your dog sit where, that dog needs consistency, and now it doesn't have that consistency. And now you still have these high expectations, but those expectations have been watered down.
Mm-hmm. Well, and, and I didn't mean for this to go into the professional realm, but we're here, so this is just kind of another one. I just love how, at home, you don't have the timeline. The timeline kills me, right? Naturally, you have to have it because very few. I've had twice in my life where a client sends me a dog and says, I don't care how long it takes. Keep them a month, keep them a year. Just let me know when you're done. No pressure, no anything, right? It just doesn't happen. So you have to have timelines. But, for example, we had a dog come in, probably only 12 days ago. And, this was a dog that was struggling pulling off of a mark, like even on a double, like mark 1. Okay, it's at 10 o'clock. Mark 2 is going to come at 2, and this dog wouldn't leave 10 o'clock, right? Just zoned in on this. And so, we worked our tails off this last little bit, and not only did that, but could pull her off and run a blind, a basic blind, no doubt, a memory blind in the case of the video, but again, the video, right? So Mark, pull her off, run the memory. She comes back, picks up ecstatic. Like, I was ecstatic. Like, this is something we have worked on. Like, this is a dog that we did not train up to this point, like bird and gun introduction, but not like real train, right? Like, yeah, I went through some, I'm not saying we didn't do anything, but like, haven't seen this dog in probably a year, 2 years, right? And was able to get through this in a very, very short period of time. And like, I felt like it was just critiquing. It was like,
yeah, the line could have been better. I'm like, the line, like, we couldn't get her off the mark to begin with, right? Like let's not critique the line,
Right.
you know? Like, I mean, just like,
Celebrate the win.
right, and that's just it. Like, okay, so minimal time, fixed a issue, and then but these other things could have been better. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's just like that. But also on the other side, from a customer side, right? Like, there's an expectation,
100%.
right? Like, when I hire a carpenter, I have an expectation. I can't do anything. Like, I can't do woodwork, right? But I have an expectation, right? And so it is kind of an interesting one. But I do think the advantage that we have is we have the opportunity in our realm here to see a lot of different dogs and to have this different perspective. And now through the strike teams in Retriever Roadmap, now I think even more importantly, can see many different handlers and how they handle, because let's be real, it's the people that hold the team back more times than not. Right? You have to have the right dog, no question. More times than not, it's the people. And so, what are you doing, right? And I've been encouraging people to do this more and more. It's like when you have an issue, a struggle of consistency, especially, right? Like, a dog doesn't act the same on every training session, or doesn't, like, videotape yourself and watch you. There's probably something you are doing that you don't even realize. Probably whether it's the way you move, are you more tense, are you more free, are you happy, are you not, are you whatever, right? There's probably something that you're doing because naturally we're, as humans, emotion gets the best of us. And it's very difficult for someone. That's why professional trainers are so good at this, because this is what they do every day. They understand, like, most of the time, if you get with a professional trainer, they are not going to be a roller coaster of emotions. They're going to be pretty straightforward. Someone may perceive it as overly blunt because, you're not used to that maybe, right? But you're likely not going to get the roller coaster of emotions. If you have a trainer that is a roller coaster of emotions, that's likely not a good sign, because that roller coaster also goes down, right? And you don't want someone that is emotional on a downward spiral interacting with your dog. I'm just saying that's probably not a positive thing. So, being that steady Eddie, I think, is a really good quality for a trainer, but it's easier to do that when you're doing this every day. This is your day. Keep calm, keep quiet. Like, very rarely are you hearing, dog trainers, again, just losing their minds, right? But if you go to a novice handler, that's where you see the emotion, right? That's where you see the up and down. That's where you see the whatever it is, right? So it is really interesting. I love that aspect of the strike teams probably more than anything. Of, hey, let's work with you. Like, we're gonna get your dog through something here, but let's work with you, because then you can go home and you can apply it for the next week, not just this session. I've loved that about it.
Yeah. The other thing that I love about it, and one kid I know, and Eric could speak on it more because Eric was talking to him the most, but the one kid, made the comment that this was huge for him. Confidence. He was super nervous coming there, super nervous because he was thinking all these dogs were going to just outshine his dog, and his dog did fantastic. But he recognized right away that this is on me, because I'm nervous. I'm nervous to. It's not a competition. We're all there to help each other. So I thought that was pretty cool that he pointed that out. And a lot of the handlers, I think, like you said, have become it's a core group right now. So you got a lot of friends, a lot of people that know each other. So that confidence has gotten much higher. So, get involved in the strike team if you're a Retriever Roadmap member. Lots of fun. I have one in Ohio. I have a few people. Just unfortunately, our training days have not lined up for everybody to make it. But I plan on doing a couple more, or trying to do some before hunting season, and even throughout hunting season, because that's another thing. People think when hunting season's here, boom, my training stops. No, it doesn't.
I think it's more important.
It's more important.
More important to be training through the season, because that's where everything's going to unravel. So if you all of a sudden let everything, you go from, it's no different than, why do you keep having practices during the season, right? Like, the game is great,
Stay sharp.
right? But take what you learn from the game and go work on the weaknesses, work on what you need to work on so you can go apply it again. It is incredible how many people stop training during hunting season.
All the time.
And it is the most important time to train.
Yep, all the time. All the time. So yeah, we're going to try to get some sessions in. If you have one in your area, I think we have 10 or 11 throughout the U.S. You can jump on the website. You can see where they're located. And if anybody, is interested in becoming a lead for one, reach out to myself or Josh, email info@retrieverroadmap.com. We'd love to talk with you guys to get something set up. So it's a super cool group. Really encourage everybody and anybody at any age level of their dog, get involved. Lots of fun.
Mm-hmm. All good stuff. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Remember, transition to preseason prep, and go easy on your dog when you're asking for a performance. If it doesn't go your way, just take that for what it is. So hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Leave us a review on iTunes, and a special thank you to DUK, because without them, we couldn't do what we do here, bringing this information to you.